If you're looking for deep bass without sacrificing your car's trunk or cabin space, Underseat Subwoofers are the perfect solution. I tested out a whole range of them and narrowed it down to the best 10 that I'm going to be going over in this video. All the products I mentioned are linked in the description, so be sure to check them out if you like any of them. Now, let's begin. At number 10, we have the Rockville SS10P. I tried this subwoofer in my compact sedan, and the results were genuinely impressive. This is a 10-inch slim subwoofer that delivers solid bass while fitting under the seat without getting in the way. The peak power is 800 watts, with an RMS of 200 watts, and it has a built-in amplifier. It feels like a proper upgrade if your car's audio lacks bass. The sub features low-level RCA inputs, high-level inputs with auto turn-on, and an adjustable input sensitivity. The enclosure is rugged, and the sound remains stable even when I pushed it harder on long drives. The bass was deep without being boomy, and that suited genres like hip-hop, EDM, and even rock very well. Compared to the Rockville RW10CA, which I included as number 9 on this list, the SS10P has a tighter, more controlled punch, but falls slightly behind in raw loudness. The pros include clean design, easy install, and solid punch. The cons include average loudness and minimal tuning options. At number 9, we have the Rockville RW10CA. I used this in an SUV, and its performance was punchy and full. This 10-inch powered subwoofer delivers 800 watts of peak power and 200 watts RMS, similar to the SS10P, but it leans more toward sheer volume. Its ultra-slim design made it easy to install under my driver's seat. The bass hits harder than you might expect for something this slim, and it includes thermal protection and short protection circuits. I appreciated how the bass had a slight rumble, which added presence to trap beats and movie soundtracks. Even at higher volumes, it did not distort unless you pushed it to the extreme. Compared to the Surwin Vega P10, which I included as number 8 on this list, the RW10CA is louder, but slightly less refined. The pros include strong bass, good build, and slim size. The cons include mild distortion and power draw. At number 8, we have the Surwin Vega P10. This subwoofer left a lasting impression with how refined and smooth it sounded. It features a 10-inch sub, 550 watts peak power, and 200 watts RMS. But it is the clarity and tightness of the bass that won me over. It is easy to install with a PWM MOSFET power supply and variable bass boost. I used this in a hatchback, and the sound filled the car beautifully without booming. The thermal protection was reliable, and the automatic turn-on worked like a charm. The bass was accurate and punchy without overwhelming the mids and highs. This one shined with acoustic music and vocal-heavy tracks. Compared to the Boss Audio System's BAB10, which I included as number 7 on this list, the VPAS-10 wins for sound quality, but loses a bit in raw power. The pros include tight bass, quality build, and sleek profile. The cons include mid-power and price. At number 7, we have the Boss Audio System's BAB10. This is a strong contender if you want solid bass on a budget. I installed this in a friend's crossover vehicle, and we were both surprised at the punch it provided. The BAB10 pushes 1200 watts of peak power, which sounds great on paper, and while it may not fully hit those numbers, it does thump hard. The installation was straightforward, and it comes with a variable low-pass filter and bass boost. Its bass delivery leaned a little toward the boomy side, which will please bass lovers but might not suit all genres equally. The amp built into this model does heat up under long use, but did not shut down. Compared to the Pyle PLBX8A, which I included as number 6 on this list, the BAB10 is louder, but a bit less clear. The pros include strong power, affordable price, and compact frame. The cons include average clarity and bulky feel. At number 6, we have the Pyle PLBX8A. I tested this sub in a smaller sedan, and the experience was decent. This 8-inch subwoofer is powered, with 600 watts peak power and 200 watts RMS. It is compact and fits under the seat easily, but the bass response is more about subtle fill than room-shaking punch. It is best for people who listen to lighter music or just want to round out their system. The bass was warm and not fatiguing, and it did well with pop, jazz, and classic rock. The built-in amplifier is surprisingly good for its size. Compared to the Sudar SU6901, which I included as number 5 on this list, the Pyle has better clarity, but weaker low-end strength. The pros include lightweight design, decent clarity, and simple controls. The cons include lower bass and slight rattle. At number 5, we have the Soundstorm ST800. I gave this sub a shot in a midsize SUV, and I was surprised by how balanced and controlled it was. It is an 8-inch powered subwoofer with 600 watts peak power and 150 watts RMS. The aluminum housing feels sturdy, and it did not overheat during extended use. It comes with remote level control and line and speaker level inputs, making it versatile. It delivered clean low frequencies with minimal distortion, and the tonal response was surprisingly neutral. I used this sub for over 2 weeks, and it maintained consistent performance. Compared to the Hayena Soda 08ASW, which I included as number 4 on this list, the ST800 is more compact, but does not hit quite as deep. The pros include clean build, great balance, and low heat. The cons include average bass and minimal boom. At number 4, we have the Hayena Soda 08ASW. This subwoofer stood out immediately thanks to its premium design and smooth bass delivery. It features an 8-inch powered sub with a maximum output of 800 watts and a sealed enclosure. I used this one in my daily driver and found the bass to be surprisingly full despite the compact housing. It also has DSP control for better sound management. I noticed this sub performed exceptionally well with modern music genres and had enough range to handle classical pieces too. The enclosure was dense and the internal damping helped reduce vibration. Compared to the Sudar SU6901, which I included as number 3 on this list, the Hayena has better bass response but is slightly harder to tune. The pros include premium finish, deep bass, and DSP tuning. The cons include tricky tuning and slightly bulky. At number 3, we have the Sudar SU6901. This is one of the most advanced underseat subwoofers I tried. It features an 8-inch driver with 600 watts peak power and a high-quality aluminum casing. What really made this one stand out was its clarity and warmth. It delivered punchy yet clean bass lines without distorting even at high volumes. It comes with a full remote control and signal sensing turn-on. The digital signal processor helped fine-tune the bass frequencies exactly to my liking. I would recommend this to anyone who cares more about clean audio than overwhelming bass. Compared to the YCCC 10-inch car underseat subwoofer, which I included as number 2 on this list, the SU6901 is more precise but lacks some boom. The pros include premium sound, full remote, and strong build. The cons include low boom and premium cost. At number 2, we have the YCCC 10-inch car underseat subwoofer. This 10-inch model is made for those who want volume and punch in a tight space. I installed this one under the passenger seat of a friend's van, and it transformed the sound completely. With 600 watts peak and 120 watts RMS, it puts out a strong bass signal that fills the cabin. The build is solid and features an integrated amp and low-pass filter. The bass leaned toward boomy, and I felt it more than heard it, especially on bass-heavy tracks. This is ideal for people who want a powerful system without modifications to their car. Compared to the Soundstorm Laboratory's Low Pro 10, which I included as number 1 on this list, the YCCC is more powerful but slightly less refined. The pros include strong punch, tight design, and loud output. The cons include mild distortion and mid-clarity. At number 1, we have the Soundstorm Laboratory's LOPRO10. This is the subwoofer I currently use in my car, and I am still impressed every time I turn it on. It is a 10-inch low-profile powered subwoofer with 1200 watts peak and 600 watts RMS, making it the most powerful on this list. The bass is both deep and tight, and it integrates perfectly with the rest of my audio system. It includes a variable bass boost, phase control, and low-pass filter. The remote subwoofer control is a nice touch and allows you to tweak the sound on the fly. I especially loved how well it handled dynamic changes in the music, making it perfect for cinematic scores and complex rock arrangements. Compared to the Rockville SS10P, which I included as number 10 on this list, the LOPRO10 is more powerful and more customizable. The pros include big sound, full control, and great build. The cons include higher cost and large size.